If you are looking to maximize your hamstring growth without using free weights or machines, then this is the video for you. Today, I'm gonna walk you through 5 of my favorite hamstring exercises that you can do at home with bands. All right, so with your hamstrings, you kind of have 2 ways or 2 different movement patterns that you can do to engage them. The first is knee flexion, which is bending at the knee joint. That's going to shorten the hamstring, and that's going to work all 3 of the hamstring heads. And then the second is hip hinging. So that's bending at the hips. That is going to work 2 of the hamstring heads. So ultimately, you want to get a good variety of knee flexion and hip hinging exercises when you program for hamstring growth. So let's jump into the first exercise for today, which is a lying hamstring curl, and we are going to use resistance bands instead of free weights and machines so that you can do these anywhere. The perk about this is it's a lot easier to set up, and also you get a little bit of a different strength curve because with a band, the resistance is progressive. So the further you stretch that band, the more resistance it puts out. And they're also a lot easier on your joints because there's no mass involved with the band. So there's no acceleration, deceleration with heavy mass that impacts your joints, which is another plus for bands. So to set this exercise up, we're gonna grab a single 41-inch band, anchor it to a low anchor point, whether you got a wall anchor or a door anchor or just something to wrap the band around that's close to the floor, that's going to work just fine. And then I like to use a bench to kind of get us off the floor a little bit more so that when we lay down, you can actually get really good range of motion, and then that band is kind of pulling you into that fully extended position. The other huge thing that really helps this exercise is a set of ankle straps. So I got a pair of ankle straps from Clench Fitness. We designed these specifically to work well with resistance band. They got these really big carabiners on them so that you can put bands in here, and also like the D-rings and then the loop that goes around the ankle or the bottom of your foot to keep it from moving around. It's just a great set of ankle straps, and they're super comfortable. Jumping into this exercise, you're gonna hook in from the back side. So you basically grab here, and then you're gonna hook basically one band into both of the carabiners on your ankle straps, and then you're gonna step forward. And now the kicker here is you need to get tension at the bottom of the rep. So you have to stretch this band a little bit, and that's where the ankle straps kind of make it a lot more comfortable and a lot easier to get into, because now we can preload that band, get some stretch here, and now I can grab a hold of this, and you can see that the band is pulling my legs into that fully lengthened position. And now we're gonna drive our hips into the pad, and then we're just gonna exhale, curl this baby up. And you wanna get full range of motion, so make sure you get those feet up and those knees flexed as far as possible. Big squeeze at the top, and then control on the way down. Don't just let it slingshot you down. I want you to fight it all the way down and control that eccentric. Big lengthen here, full stretch at the bottom. Exhale, big squeeze at the top. Ooh. And this one, it's all about control. With hamstrings, there's no need to go fast and bang through the reps. It's all about slowing things down, getting a big stretch, and really controlling that exercise. Next up, we got some seated hamstring curls. This is another knee flexion exercise. And this one, I really feel like you can get a super good stretch, but the key is in the setup. And the way I like to do this is I like to take a single 41-inch band, and then I'm using an anchor point that's a little bit higher, preferably something that you can adjust the height. Like if you have a rack at home, it's gonna be perfect for setting these up, but a lot of people don't have racks, so you can use like a door anchor strap and maybe kind of put it like above the middle hinge in the door, and that should get you kind of right to that right height point. And it's gonna be different for everybody, so you're gonna have to kind of play around with it. But the key here is getting a higher anchor point so that when we're sitting down, we're gonna get a really good stretch. This is gonna be a little bit more difficult to set up. The way that I like to do it, I'll hook kind of one side of the band in, and then I'll go basically around through my anchor point, and then come down and hook the other one up. And now you're gonna have tension here. And this is the other thing I like about having a band peg, is that it'll just kind of like rotate to get everything equalized between both legs. Now, here's where it's gonna be the fun part, because you're gonna wanna scoot that bench away from your anchor point, but you're gonna have this band that's gonna be trying to pull you up out of here. So you gotta fight against it a little bit to kind of get into it, but it works really well. And now you got this anchor point pulling these legs up into this fully stretched position. And then I like to lean forward to get even more hamstring stretch. And now, as I go through this, this is so much more difficult. It feels a lot like a machine at the gym. Also, we got the band folded in half now, so that resistance profile is gonna be a lot steeper. That progressive resistance is gonna start out high, and it's gonna get even higher as you kind of go through. Focusing here, once again, controlling that rep all the way through. Big stretch at the top, and then crunch it in. Pull those knees in as far as you can get, big flex. Let it down nice and slow. And these are just gonna destroy your hamstrings. Next up, we're gonna do some RDLs, or Romanian deadlifts, which is a hip hinge exercise. And you can set this up a ton of different ways. The simplest way to set this up is using just like a single 41-inch band, and you can stand on it and hold it in one side in each hand. But that's gonna be limited as you kind of get higher in the resistance levels. It's gonna be uncomfortable on your hands, it'll be uncomfortable on your feet. So what I like to do is use some cool accessories from Clench Fitness. My favorite is the Nexus Pro Bar, which is an aluminum bar that's 49 inches long, and it's gonna stretch this band out so that you get really good tension at the bottom, and also it's gonna be really easy to hang onto and comfortable. And if you really want to, you can also stack free weights on the outside of this to make it even more customizable in the strength curve. I also like to pair this with the clenched foot plate, because this is what'll help you stay really stable, and it's gonna give you some more tension at the bottom of the rep. This is my preferred setup by far. Another item you could use, a different bar if you don't want to spring for the Nexus bar, is the Carbon Pro Bar. This is an ultra light, more compact bar that feels really good with band training. This is also from Clench Fitness, the Carbon Pro Bar. Either one of these two are gonna be good choices for this exercise. My favorite, of course, is the Nexus bar because you get more tension at the bottom. Setting this up, get right on top of that foot plate, stand up just like we're doing a deadlift. And now at the top of this rep is where we're gonna start, and we're gonna break at the hips, keeping our knees like 90% locked. Breaking at the hips, sticking our butt out behind us, letting that bar drag right down our shins, the front side of our quads. And now we wanna get to the bottom of the rep. Huge stretch here at the bottom. And you wanna go down low enough so that you get a really big stretch, but not too low that you start hunching your back. You wanna keep that back nice and flat. Now we got a big stretch. Now we're gonna just change direction, thrust our hips forward, big squeeze. And this is all about slow, controlled negatives, stretching those hamstrings out, fighting that pain of the stretch. Exhale on the way up. Make sure you squeeze and thrust those hips forward at the top. And that's how we do the RDLs. Next up, we're gonna do some Sumo Deadlift. So this is kind of like an RDL, except we're gonna have a really wide stance, and we're gonna get more glutes involved. And also it's gonna kind of change where it's gonna hit in the hamstring. So it's just kind of like another angle to try out. And also it's really good for mobility and posterior chain strength in general, especially for like low back stuff and your erector muscles. Like, this is a good exercise that you should have in your programming for posterior chain. Anyways, setting it up, single 41-inch band. Now you can set this up, once again, a few different ways. What I like to do, get this 41-inch band, and now I'm gonna get a nice wide stance here, get that band equalized, and now you can grab the band if you want, getting nice and wide, and we're gonna drop down. And the trick with this exercise is you're gonna drop your butt like super low, and you're dropping your butt down, trying to keep your chest up, your head kind of up, looking forward. We're gonna drop down into it, and then you're gonna rotate. Basically, you're rotating those shoulder blades back, and then standing up, big squeeze, and then we're gonna come down. Big squeeze, coming back down. And once you get heavy with this, it's gonna be kind of hard on your hands. That's where you can come in with this Clench Carbon Pro Bar. And actually, I found this out the other day. It's easy to just snap these carabiners right over top of the band. So now you're right in that same position, but now we're just gonna grab the bar, and now you have something more comfortable to hang on to. that you can really get down into. Get a nice wide grip on that baby. Boom. And we're doing sumo deadlifts all the way down. And this is just another great posterior chain exercise. Okay, we saved the best and most challenging exercise for last. We are gonna wrap this up doing Nordic curls. Now this is probably one of the most challenging hamstring exercise because typically it requires you to lift basically all of your body weight using a knee flexion exercise. But the cool part is we can use resistance bands to take off some of that load and make this exercise easier so that anybody can do them as long as you got a place to anchor your bands. Setting this up can be a little bit tricky. So right now we're in our clench home gym. We got a barbell and a barbell pad. What we're using this here for is to anchor our feet. So what you're gonna need is something to hold your ankles down and provide that reaction force. And so as you're going through this exercise, you can actually do it. Now I'm gonna show you a cool tool that you can use at home without having to have a barbell or anything like this to set this up. Doing the exercise is pretty straightforward. Once you get your ankles hooked in underneath something and your resistance band hooked up over top, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna pivot out in front of ourselves and we're gonna go all the way down to the floor. Now typically, just trying to do this with all your body weight, it can be super tough, and you see a lot of people doing like a push-up Nordic curl, and they're like, oh yeah, we're doing Nordic curls, but you're not getting any force into your hamstrings, you're just using your hands to throw you up. That's why the bands are so awesome for this exercise, because we can use that progressive resistance to subtract resistance as it gets tougher to do this exercise and drive all of that weight into your hamstrings. So basically, it's just like all the other exercises we've been doing. Control is key. So as you're going down, you want to control that negative all the way down, kiss your nose up the floor, change directions, big squeeze, and you're driving all of that force into your hamstrings and just cranking out the reps. If you can do 10 reps with this really slow tempo like this, you are gonna grow some massive hamstrings. And it's just that simple. I made it look simple. The bands make it feel a lot simpler, but this is still a grueling, super tough exercise. Now, for those of you at home without a ton of exercise equipment and ways to hook up your ankles, what you can use is this little tool called the Nordic. It basically goes underneath your door and you can hook your ankles underneath of it. And then you can use an anchor strap on top of your door to anchor your bands to. That is it. There are 5 killer exercises to build stronger hamstrings with bands. Let me know in the comments which one of these you're gonna try first. Also, if you liked what you saw today, be sure to smash that like button. Furthermore, if you want to see more videos like this, we have tons of content on this channel for you. Check out the on-screen video links to keep watching and learning more about bands. Furthermore, if you need any of the bands or accessories shown today, head over to clenchfitness.com. We will hook you up. There's even a little coupon code down in the description for you if you need it. And thank you so much for watching.